どうなんでしょうか。
Wow. Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
ウィル・スミスにやられました。
You know who might not be having the best Monday, though, is Will Smith and Chris Rock. Chris Rock's face might be a little bit sore after what happened at the Oscars last night. So I want to chat about it because there's actually a lot going on astrologically that kind of explains that shocking moment at the Oscars last night.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Keep my wife's
G.I. Jane
name
のジョークだったん
out
で
your
す。
fucking mouth.
I'm going to, okay? I could, okay. That was a greatest night in the history of television.
テレビ史上最高
The
の
reason I want to talk about this is because it really paints a picture of how accurate astrology can be. So we are going to talk about it. And I promise that we will get to the forecast and it ties into the forecast as well. So I'm going to start by pulling up the current chart, actually, so you can really see what energy we're working with. We have a ton going on in Aries right now. Mercury moved into Aries yesterday, which makes for aggressive, direct, fiery forms of communication. That's pretty spot on with what we saw at the Oscars last night. The sun is coming into a conjunction with Chiron this week. And all of that Aries energy was definitely activating Will Smith's chart and just the entire situation in general. But I also want to point out what's going on in Aquarius. We have Mars in Aquarius, the moon in Aquarius, Saturn in Aquarius, and Venus in Aquarius. And Venus and Saturn are forming a conjunction today. So I will talk through the energy of that as well. But let's now pull up Will Smith's birth chart and Chris Rock's birth chart. Let's start with Will Smith. I think that there's a lot to point out here. So take a look at his chart here, born in West Philadelphia. If you get it, you get it. So Will Smith is a Libra. He is, very passionate person. But also, throughout history or throughout his career, we've seen Will Smith be pretty balanced, right? During Aries season, let me know if you know any Libras or if you're a Libra, if Aries season is particularly fiery for you, because I feel like for Libras during Aries season, the opposite season, it's almost like they get thrown off balance and definitely swing more to the aggressive side of the passive aggressive scale. So that could have definitely played a factor in Will Smith's behavior last night. And also you can look up these charts on astrocharts.com. They're the best site for celebrity charts, in my opinion. So let's talk about what else was going on. I just pointed out the Aquarius energy, Venus, Mercury, Venus, Saturn, and the moon all in Aquarius last night. So actually, let's talk about what was going on energetically during the Oscars. We had Mercury move into Aries Sunday morning, just like we talked about, making for aggressive, fiery communication. But we also were coming into this conjunction between Venus and Saturn and the moon being in Aquarius. So lots of stuff going on in Aquarius. If you look at Will Smith's chart, his midheaven is in Aquarius. Now, our midheaven in astrology represents this pinnacle point or highest potential in our career. Will Smith had never won an Oscar before. This Oscars marked a pinnacle moment in Will Smith's career. But what was going on astrologically at the time? We'll take a look again at Aquarius on our chart. Right in the middle of Aquarius, we have Mars. The moon was conjunct Mars late last night. The moon was coming into a conjunction with Mars when everything blew up at the Oscars. Now, when the moon forms a conjunction to Mars, we're more impulsive, we're more aggressive, we have a harder time holding back how we really feel. We might want to, it's that warrior energy. We're ready to go into battle. We might want to stand up for something we're really loyal to or that we truly believe in. That's Mars energy. And with the moon conjunct Mars during the Oscars, we saw how Will Smith was not able to kind of check himself. I think even in the forecast for Sunday, I wrote, check yourself before you wreck yourself. And there we are. So that was happening, like I said, on top of Will Smith's midheaven, this conjunction between the moon and Mars. And just before that conjunction between the moon and Mars, the moon squared off to Uranus and Taurus, which creates a disruption, an outburst, a change. So that's the energy we were working with during the Oscars, and we certainly saw it play out. I also want to point out a few more things in Will Smith's chart. So Will Smith has his Chiron in Aries. Chiron is currently in Aries. And so his Chiron, let's see, is at 0 degrees Aries. A 0 degree placement means he probably has a lot of work to do with his core wounds. Maybe his inner child wounds with Chiron being in Aries. I won't speculate. I don't know Will Smith's life, but I will point out that when Mercury moved into Aries yesterday morning, it transited right on top of his Chiron. So that fiery communication that was happening from Chris Rock, right? Maybe being a little too impulsive with his communication, not really thinking before he spoke. It seemed to me like just an off-the-cuff little quip that obviously turned out to be a huge deal. But Mercury being in Aries was transiting on top of Will Smith's Chiron, provoking his deepest wounds. So we saw how he reacted to that, not in a calm way, that's for sure. Now, his sun, Will Smith's sun, is at 3 degrees in Libra, opposing his Chiron and opposing Mercury moving into Aries. So there was this moment that he had to face his wounds, or he felt the need to face off against what was happening astrologically, energetically. So really interesting. His ability to remain balanced with that Libra sun was definitely activated by everything going on opposing his sun. Really, like Libras are the scales, right? They have both energies and they're balancing these energies. And it just really feels like everything that was happening in Aries threw Will Smith off balance. And we even saw that with his really odd speech, his acceptance speech when he won Best Actor. It was like it went on for so long and it was all over the place. Like, he is normally a very well-spoken, even-keeled person, it seems, at least in his public persona, but that definitely got thrown off balance with everything that happened. And so, you know, the Moon-Mars conjunction on top of his midheaven, everything happening at the beginning of Aries, Mercury over his Chiron, Mercury and Aries in general. And Will Smith has a Scorpio moon. I have a Scorpio moon too. We were just talking about this actually last Monday, which can make us very defensive or reactive when our emotions are provoked, especially those deep triggers. And with Mercury transiting on top of his Chiron, those deepest triggers were provoked. So that's what's going on with Will Smith's chart. Now let's take a look at what's going on with Chris Rock's chart. Because, you know, I feel like we've been focusing a lot on Will and Jada, and rightfully so, but this is kind of a big moment for Chris Rock too. Like, can we just address the fact that he got slapped in the face in the most like public way possible, and then also was able to just kind of like keep going? I mean, so bizarre. But here's kind of what's going on in Chris Rock's chart. So first of all, Chris Rock has an Aries rising and an Aries moon. Okay, so all of this Aries energy, it's funny because the fact that he has an Aries rising, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. He's a little brash, a little harsh, a little direct with his humor. Like, he's willing to go there. And it almost seems like when he is doing comedy, it's like kind of just coming through. You know what I mean? He's just kind of like going off the cuff, just saying whatever comes to mind, which is very much that Aries energy of just starting something, doing something, right? So all that Aries energy definitely impacting his 12th house and his first house, like an ending and a new beginning happening with this incident, right? For him personally in his chart. But also there could be a lot of healing that comes out of this for him, or force him to heal because this all happened. Mercury moving into Aries in his 12th house. Yeah. So Aries season, definitely a transformative time for Chris Rock in general. Something else I want to note about Chris Rock's chart is that the Saturn-Venus conjunction happening today, and we started feeling this yesterday. It was within a degree yesterday. So again, this is happening at 21 degrees in Aquarius, right? This Venus-Saturn conjunction. We will go over this. Let's look at right around where 21 degrees Aquarius is in Chris Rock's chart. Well, he just happens to be in Aquarius, and his sun, I believe, is at 19 degrees Aquarius. So let me double check that. Let's see. Yeah, 18 degrees Aquarius. So this Venus-Saturn conjunction is happening on top of Chris Rock's sun and very close to his Mercury as well. So this conjunction is conjunct his sun, his personality, his essence. Whoa. What does that mean? Well, we'll talk more about just the energy of the Venus-Saturn conjunction, but Saturn is boundaries, limits, negativity, worries, anything it's like kind of like a police officer coming in. It's like, we got to limit this, right? So limiting his expression, literally, with Saturn on his sun. We saw the consequences of him not limiting his expression. And also, Venus being in the mix with this conjunction is really, today we're assessing how we value how Chris Rock shows up in the world. Venus rules our values, how we value his humor, how we value his personality. A lot of comedians are backing up Chris Rock, saying like, these are our values as comedians. We should be able to make these jokes. But then, of course, you have a whole slew of people saying like that was out of line, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, it's very interesting that the Venus-Saturn conjunction is happening on top of Chris Rock's sun. He really broke a rule, Saturn ruling our rules, right? Very much into rules. He broke the rule of making fun of someone going through a public health hardship. And we saw the mass backlash from that, essentially. So that's really what's playing out in Chris Rock's chart right now. Also, Will Smith's moon in Scorpio is conjunct Chris Rock's Neptune. So take a look at Will Smith's moon over here in Scorpio, towards the end of Scorpio. His Neptune is very close by as well, but it's almost directly on top of Chris Rock's Neptune. Neptune rules illusions. You could even say Neptune is kind of like jokes, right? Like there's this, or entertainment, or like deception of some sort, and jokes can be kind of deceptive, right? And Will Smith's moon, his emotions are activated by Chris Rock's Neptune. Neptune also rules the media. So like Chris Rock is like kind of being this like jokester, deceptive on this public media platform, and his leaning into his Neptune definitely provoked Will Smith's moon, his Scorpio moon. That scorpion tail definitely came out to sting. So that's kind of the main energy I'm seeing when I look at these charts, but it's kind of wild how much is going on. Also, want to point out one more thing about Will Smith's chart, which is up on the screen right now. His Mercury is conjunct his Venus, okay? Now, Will Smith is a Gemini rising, so he's ruled by Mercury. Mercury, the planet of communication, but he's also a Libra, so there's definitely a heavy Venetian influence there. And you could almost say that Mercury and Venus are his ruling planets, if, in a sense. Mercury for certain. But they're conjunct at 28 and 29 degrees Libra. And when a planet is at the end of a sign like that, it's kind of at this like pinnacle point. There's a really strong influence from this planet in his chart. And we know, if you know anything about Will and Jada's relationship, they are very vocal about it, which makes sense with Venus conjunct Mercury in his chart. But there's also like a lot of passion there, and he's very upfront about his love, and like he's willing to talk about it, to put it out there. And there's a lot of passion there. There's a lot, like it definitely, what's the best way to say this? It definitely dominates like his world, and you know that anytime you look into Will Smith, it's like his wife, his family, his love comes first. So anyway, very interesting as well that was happening in Aries, kind of opposing, and his Saturn opposes his Venus and Mercury. So again, we have this like Saturn influence, like his boundaries, his limits are working on a very different plane, opposing his ability to express his love. So we could get into this for hours, but just a ton of synchronicity happening within their charts. Good morning, Court. Yes, so much Aries energy. And the fact that Chris Rock has so much Aries energy with a rising and moon in Aries, and then Will Smith has so much Libra energy. I mean, you can see it in his chart still up on the screen here. It's like this opposition definitely played out in a very big way. So that's all I have to say about what happened last night. I know a ton of people have been talking about it online, and a ton of astrologers have been pointing out things, but I don't think we've been paying too much attention to Chris Rock's chart either and what was happening for him. And yeah, I think that, it's just a testament to the fact that astrology is very much real. And yeah, like it aligned perfectly. It was wild to go back and watch the video I posted yesterday morning, like beware of angry outbursts. And then there we see it on like the most public stage. Another thing I'll point out, the last thing I'll say about this is the moon is in Aquarius. So we experience emotions on a collective level. The moon is still in Aquarius right now as well, but last night the moon was conjunct Mars in Aquarius. So we felt that aggression on a collective level. We felt those emotions on a collective level. I mean, everyone in the world was like, what just happened? We're all trying to process this even today. What does this mean? How do we move forward? How do we navigate this? We all have a shift in perspective with the moon in Aquarius as well. Like, what is okay to joke about? What's not okay to joke about? Where is the line? How do you avoid crossing it? Was it okay that he made that joke? Should he have done more research? Jada Pinkett Smith is going through her own battle that she's been very public about with alopecia. Causes that we care about are also provoked with the moon in Aquarius. So we're seeing a lot of people, like I said, comedians standing up for the cause they care about, being able to make jokes without fear of getting slapped in the face, literally. And then people who have gone through similar things as Jada Pinkett Smith, or women in general, people standing up for Black women in general, the need to protect Black women. I mean, like Bree said, my social media is flooded with OSCARS BS. Yeah, we're all talking about it because we are all feeling the collective energy. Thank you so much for joining us and aligning with the energy of the universe today. If you enjoyed this morning's episode of Transits Today, you can join our live astrology discussion every weekday morning right here wherever you're watching. And head to thespiritualjournalist.com to read your daily astrology forecast and browse the Spiritual Shop. The most fun way to help keep these forecasts free and support more content like this is to buy yourself a little something on our website. But if you're feeling extra generous, you can also buy me a coffee to fuel future live streams. Just tap the link in the description or head to buymeacoffee.com and search The Spiritual Journalist. And speaking of, you can also tune in to The Spiritual Journalist, our weekly live interview where we ask our guests questions about everything from crystals and manifestation to mental health and the environment. Those conversations stream live right here wherever you're watching now every Tuesday. I'm so grateful you found us here, and I can't wait for our next conversation.